Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain, where I've got coffee today. We had rain, and now we have books. And the book that I'm bringing to you all today is The Library of Lost Dollhouses by Elise Hooper. This is a standalone book. I do not anticipate it being part of any series because, there's just nothing. We could probably dive into a lot of other things with regards to this book, but it is a standalone. I think there are some historical stories that I would love to read in conjunction with this book after having read it. But that's because there is an author's kind of like afterword, which kind of explains where some of the inspiration came from and some of the people who the characters are based on as well. Now, some of it is very loosely based and all of that, but I just wanted to throw that out there that some of this does have a tangential connection to historical people, though it's not like, it's not parallels for them. So just putting that out there that the characters are pretty cool. Let's dive into the summary real quick. If I can click the right button to get to my summary. So, boop, boop, boop. Going back. When a young librarian discovers historic dollhouses in a hidden room, she embarks on an unexpected journey that reveals surprising secrets about lost miniatures. Tildy Barrow, head curator of a beautiful archival library in San Francisco, is meticulously dedicated to the centuries' worth of inventory housed in her beloved Beaux Art building. She loves the calm and order in the shelves of the books and walls of art. But Tildy's uneventful life takes an unexpected turn when she first learns the library is on the verge of bankruptcy, and second discovers two exquisite, never-before-seen dollhouses. After finding clues hidden within these remarkable miniatures, Tildy starts to believe that Bella Curtis Lafarge, the influential heiress who established the library a century ago, is conveying a significant final message. With a newfound sense of spontaneity, Tildy sets out to decipher the secret history of the dollhouses, aiming to salvage her cherished library in the process. Her journey to understand introduces her to a world of ambitious and gifted women in the Belle Epoque, Paris. In Belle Epoque, Paris. Okay. I wonder if that means like the beautiful era. A group of scarred World War I veterans in the English countryside and Walt Disney's bustling Burbank studio in the 1950s. As Tildy unravels the mystery, she not only finds inspiring, overlooked history, but also a future for herself filled with exciting possibilities and an astonishing family revelation. Spanning the course of a century, The Library of Lost Dollhouses is a warm, bright, captivating story of secrets and love that embrace the importance of illuminating overlooked women of the past. Now, this book is considered to be historical fiction, mystery, and books about books. So now, for some reason, there is the genre listed of fantasy, but I don't really include it in fantasy because to me, fantasy means there's some sort of magical element, some sort of, possibly not supernatural, but it could be magical realism of sorts. I don't really find that in this book. I do find the historical fiction to be the most accurate genre regarding this book, but it's because the author has taken inspiration from true women in history. Now, maybe not exactly true women in history, but women who truly existed and have taken their story and put a new spin on it in a way. And I really, really liked that. I loved that we got to hear about this girl who, I think her name is Cora Hart, who flees from New York after a bit of, just say scandal. And I'm not going to try to go too far into her New York scandal story because I think that's part of like the part you got to find out on your own. But she goes to Paris, joins a kind of a women's boarding house where art is encouraged, and this is where she meets Belva. And so Belva is her first, more or less, client to commission a miniature. And so from there, Cora really does kind of her her skills take off and take her through all these different, what I guess you could say is adventures. Um, but let's go back to Tildy for just a minute, because Tildy is what we could say is probably in present day, and she's working at this archival library, which I do not believe the archival library mentioned in this book is real, though I think it was inspired by a possibly a real archival library in San Francisco, in or near that area. I do not remember what the author said the name of that one was, but it sounds as though there was something that gave this inspiration. Well, Tildy is, she's realizing that the library is not bustling like, one would hope. The funding is starting to run down, and though she's not like the executive, like the head executive, she is still one of the head curators, and so she has a lot of her life invested into this library. One day she's in a storage room kind of near the attic when she discovers that there is, and I love secret passageways, but there is a secret passageway in the storage room that when it opens, or when she opens it, there are two dollhouses within. Now, one is a miniature of the, pretty much the house she's standing in. It is a kind of a replication of this building that is now her library. The other is, if I remember correctly, I think it's the Hotel Lafage. I think it's Belva's like hotel that she had created in Paris, like one of her buildings that she had. So it's kind of cool because you got to see like these two buildings that are been stuck in this closet for this period of time. Or maybe no, maybe one of them is actually a building in England. I think that's right. I think maybe it's not one of them that. Yeah, I think that's right. Sorry, I was getting a little confused. So I think one is the Hotel Lafage in Paris, and the other is this building that's bigger that Tildy doesn't recognize right off. But anyway, going back into the story, so they're trying to figure out like these two buildings, but she's so very curious about who created these works. And the detail in some of these miniatures is phenomenal. But we get a parallel story of this at the same time. It's like Cora's journals, even though in the present time we haven't yet run across Cora's journals. And so it's a little confusing as to, just a little bit confusing, but not super confusing, of kind of hearing about Cora's life and then Tildy doing the legwork to try to put the pieces together to figure out who made these dollhouses, where did they come from, what do they represent, and trying to find out why one of the miniature houses has a picture of her mother in it. And so that was also very surprising as well, because she doesn't know how long these dollhouses have been locked away in this hidden room, but one of them has a picture of Tildy's mother in it. And so that is very, very surprising for Tildy because, well, she'd never expected to see a small miniature painting of her mother inside one of these dollhouses. So again, now we've got a family mystery to have to solve as well. I thought it was a really cute book. I've read quite a few historical fictions, and I love when they can intrigue me to want to actually know more about some of the real life events and the real life people that that inspired the story. I really thought it was cleverly done. Now, if you're not interested in dollhouses or let's just say women's history, then this might not be a book for you. But I found it incredibly illuminating to hear about these women in history who actually had fairly intense lives, or maybe you could even say secret lives. And these dollhouses, through the course of their creation, express and expose those sorts of lives. We do have several more dollhouses that come into the frame or come into the picture, because she didn't just do these two. Cora did actually several more as well, and she did a painting. So she's somebody who, should she have been real, would have been very, I guess, maybe swept under the rug by history or overlooked by art history. And when you create a miniature like this, she calls it making a portrait, because you are truly creating a moment in time of someone's life in this miniature form. So I was really fascinated by that as well. It wasn't something that I had thought about previously. I think I had a dollhouse when I was really quite young that my dad had gotten the kit for, and we did like 75% of it before we kind of either lost interest or what have you. So I don't even remember if it ever got fully painted or anything, but I knew the painstaking work it took for him to really kind of put those small pieces together. And I would love to see, I know these particular ones don't actually exist, but we do learn that there are some real dollhouses with real miniatures and such. I'm just trying to remember where they are, because I know I've been somewhere to a museum or somewhere that literally had a room of miniatures. And it was fascinating to look at all of those detail and to look at the painstaking work that someone had to put into it to create working little light fixtures or like little plants or what have you, like in small, like I think they said 1/12 scale form for some of these houses. And I think there is something very clever and very intriguing about like the art of miniature. Even in the book, we do learn that Cora had been called by Walt Disney to help him envision what he called Disneylandia. And I don't know if that was the original name of Disneyland or not, but it seemed as though, at least for this particular book, Disneylandia kind of did have some of these miniatures that helped him kind of to scale figure out his layout for what he was looking for. And I wonder if those miniatures must still exist, especially since Disneyland is real. And I don't assume that Cora Hart is the one who did it, but whoever did was probably really, really good at it if Walt Disney called. But I thought it was a great kind of combination of mixing some historical truth with some fiction and weaving us a tale that was cleverly done and has a little bit of romance, has a little bit of mystery, has a little bit of suspense. There's no real murderish situations going on in here, just a little bit of kind of a curiosity and mystery of kind of like moving through the times. And like I said, it starts around a little bit before World War I, and we start in Paris, and then we kind of move forward into history, into present day. So I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed reading it, and I do think, of course, that it rounds itself out to that we won't have a sequel to this particular book. I am perfectly fine with a standalone. I don't think every book needs a sequel, and I think the story that was told was informative and intriguing enough for me to want to learn more. But with all of that being said, I am going to go ahead and leave my thoughts here. If you have not liked and subscribed already, then I really hope you will. But with all of that, thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you guys on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.